welcome to the Potato Shot Podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Iron Dutch Murdoch.
And we're here today just to talk a little, I think we're going to focus a lot on UFC since UFC 248 is this Saturday. That's going to be Israel Adesanya defending his title against Yoel Romero. This is, I think I was reading, this is like the third fight in a row where the UFC's champion is fighting someone who's on a losing streak.
Right.
So it's almost like the only reason, as we've said previously, right before we cut the mics on, was, Yoel's just getting this because of Adesanya wanting to fight him.
Right.
How do you think the fight's going to go down?
I'm going with Israel. I'm not a Yoel Romero fan. There's a number of reasons why I don't like Yoel Romero, but be it here or there, I'm going to be pulling for Israel. I like him. I like what he's doing. And quite frankly, the only reason this fight is taking place is because the champ requested it. Yoel Romero has not been impressive and really has not done enough to earn a title shot like this.
Dana White called him a boogeyman. And I guess in some aspects, people have him because he's never been really stopped or finished. And his one title shot, let's see, what did he lose to? He missed weight.
Right.
When he was going to come back and fight for the interim belt.
Right.
I just don't see him maintaining and doing anything to Israel because the youth is definitely going to play on the side of Adesanya.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's a dangerous fighter. He starts off slow, but he's very explosive and he's very strong. But I just, I like what Israel is doing. I like him as champion. I think Israel's fun. I think there's a lot of fun fights out there for him. And like I said, I think a lot of what is driving me with this is I'm not a Yoel Romero fan. I don't think Yoel Romero would be good for business because I don't see him being somebody that's going to put eyes on the sport. That's just my opinion. I mean, obviously it's a legitimate contest, so I mean, if he does win, it is what it is. But I think about it like this too. Look at when you had, Jose Aldo and who was that other Brazilian guy that was holding the title for a long time?
Enson Barboza?
Yes. Those two, very good champions, very good fighters. Awful at pay-per-view ratings. And listen, at the end of the day, regardless of what people want to say, the UFC is no different than any other company. It is they want to make money. They want to sell pay-per-views. And those two guys together on the same card defending their title couldn't get it done. They don't speak English, which, I mean, I'm not saying that necessarily is always Anderson Silva for years was a huge draw, and he speaks very limited English. So I understand that. But it's also the fighters that are bilingual and can at least have some bit of a conversation tend to do better because UFC's the same way as any given wrestling promotions. When they put the mic in front of them, if they come off sounding like an idiot, then that's what people remember about them. And I know they're not cutting promos like WWE, but it's still a whole package kind of thing. And I don't see Yoel Romero unless he gets matched up with somebody that's on fire and that is creating a buzz. Yoel Romero is not going to be a champion that's going to translate into buy rates.
True, and I do think it is something when it comes to, since we're like one of the few countries that have pay-per-view model, you've got to entice people to watch the fight, to pay for the fight. It might be easier if you're on ESPN or another free service, or ESPN Plus, I guess you still pay for it, but still, you need to bring people over and have eyeballs put on you. Anderson Silva did not turn into a pay-per-view draw until after Chael Sonnen made people look at him. And, I think that's what you really do need, a good dance partner. And then with that being a dance partner, you don't want someone who can just talk and then that's the end of it, because Chael Sonnen took Anderson Silva to the limit. He was 4.5 rounds from winning the belt, when at that time Anderson Silva was this undefeated, one loss on his record, but he was definitely a monster in the middleweight division.
Oh, agreed. And I think that's the thing too. Now, you could make the argument of lack of promotion. Some of the fighters before have accused UFC of not promoting them. And, there may be some truth to that. I don't know, because, there for a long time, man, Anderson Silva was so good that he made it look stupid easy. He was fighting veterans and guys, man, that were dangerous fights for most people, and he was going in there and toying with them and making it look stupid easy.
Right.
The UFC should have absolutely, got behind him. But, there again, people like a fighter that's going to create that's going to bring hype, okay? When you look through the years at fighters that have translated well into pay-per-view, when you look at boxing, people love watching Mike Tyson box because Mike Tyson was scary. You know what I'm saying? We have not seen a fighter like Mike Tyson as far as the aura that he gave off back when Mike Tyson was the reigning champion. You haven't seen a fighter like that since him. Okay? Now, we've had some entertaining, we've got some good heavyweights now. I'm not diminishing what those guys are doing. But what is Tyson Fury? What is Deontay Wilder? These guys, man, are creating their hype. You know what I'm saying? These guys are giving you a reason to tune into them. Deontay Wilder's got scary knockout power. Okay? Tyson Fury is just fun on all fronts. The guy's a monster as far as the size. He's just a fantastic boxer. A lot of people are blown away by just how really good he is with dodging and moving and carrying on. But these guys also create their own hype. When you look over at the UFC, who's creating the buzz there? Obviously Conor McGregor, Colby Covington. Okay, these guys are creating their own buzz. These guys are making you want to watch their fights.
True. The thing is, when it comes with boxing and when it comes to UFC, it almost seems like sometimes the UFC it's harder for them to create a buzz. It seems like. Because they really have to do something outrageous. And that's one bad thing. It seemed like it used to be they didn't have to create as much buzz to get people to watch them. Let's say, example, Randy Couture. Great fighter. He started in at a late age, but he was a tremendous fighter, and I loved watching him. But at the same time, I don't know if Randy Couture could go out there and he was sitting on the ESPN with Gabriel Gonzaga, patting each other on the back, because and I think you need that type of stuff. But
I don't want necessarily somebody to act like they hate somebody if there's not true hate there. You know what I'm saying? But I will say this too. I think the big thing too that's hurting UFC, and this again is personal opinion, I think it's too much programming. I can't tell you the last time I looked at a card and went, wow, that's a stacked card. Now you listen to Dana White talk, and of course he's going to tell you every card's stacked. Well, I disagree with that. Scroll down the main card here. Okay, so the top two are really good, but after you get there, I'm looking at this and I don't see anything that outside of the top two fights there, Israel and Joanna. I don't see anything below that to where I'm sitting here going, oh, that's going to be a stacked card. Those might be terrific fights, but I don't look at that and go, my God. But I remember back, there used to be a time where you looked down and it was just, man, you'd have 2 or 3 fights on one card and you go, man, that could be main event. That could be main event. That's what was getting the numbers there.
Right. I'm in agreement. It's a lot of programming. That's not including when you start throwing in Bellator. And that's, so in turn, since that's on the end, Bellator is pretty rough because it's on DAZN. But then you have other...
Now that was a bad business decision.
Right. Theoretically, it might pan out, but the bad thing is, we just go real quick. The suits of Paramount, Viacom, when individuals who don't understand a business come involved and get involved with it, they will take something that can make them millions of dollars and they will shit can it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can just go down the list. Bellator, we can go with WCW and professional wrestling. And now you're looking over, and we can talk about this later at some point, but with like DC Comics and Marvel, Time Warner, AT&T merge. Now they're just like, here you've got this brand, push it. No, let's just lease it out or sell it off to Marvel. And it's amazing. But I think that's really a lot of time is suits getting involved. And that's why you never know when the Fertitti brothers were owning the UFC, they were fight fans. You did not know what you get when you got Endeavor to come in and purchase them. Because it's very simple. A bad thing happens, they go, we're out of the fight business, and it's gone.
Let me tell you, since we touched on Scott Coker, when word came out that Scott Coker was joining Bellator, that excited me. And it excited me because I think Scott Coker did a fantastic job with Strikeforce. Back in its prime, Scott Coker was a true competitor with Strikeforce to the UFC. He was putting on fights that we still talk about. Okay, Scott Coker was, listen, it's no different than anything else. The victors are going to be the ones to write history. And UFC is going to, re-envision history and talk about how, they were the land of the promise, and that until the women fought on their pay-per-view, women fighting was not a thing. But the truth of the matter is, Scott Coker was ahead of the curve on that, man. He already had Chris Cyborg and Ronda Rousey, and he was putting women in prominent positions and selling fights with them there before UFC ever did it. And not only that, man, but Scott Coker really grew Strikeforce into something good. So when I heard that he was coming to Bellator, I thought, man, this is it. He's going to take Bellator and turn the corner, and we're going to see something really good out of it. And I don't think that and there could be a lot of different reasons for this, but I don't think his tenure at Bellator has paid dividends. They're in a bad situation with DAZN, because let's be honest here, if it wasn't for me following Bellator on Instagram, I couldn't tell you what they're doing, because I never see Bellator programming, right, ever. And that's a problem. That's an absolute problem. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Scott Coker over Bellator when the whole Kimbo Slice and Dada 5000 right fight? Okay, that fight right there is an abomination, and that fight, in my opinion, that there have been several fights that Bellator has put up there as freak show, sideshow kind of gimmicky fight. There's no good reason why Hoist Gracie and Ken Shamrock at that stage of their life were fighting each other again. And then the real slap in the face was that Hoist Gracie refused to tape his hands. And I'm thinking to myself, there would be no scenario out here where Hoist Gracie would dictate to the UFC anything. Either you tape your hands or you're not fighting. Period. Okay? I still think Ken Shamrock threw the fight because I think he's a bum. but there have been several really, really bad fights that they've done. And, and I'll be honest with you too, I'm not a fan of this whole Fedor retirement farewell tour. Fedor has been beat up so many times now. I'm just waiting for him to get lights out on his farewell tour.
Well, Fedor used to be a draw.
Used to be.
And now, this last one with Rampage Jackson back in December.
Who didn't even train.
Right.
Came in fat.
Correct. And he came in, and I think it only did a few 100,000 on the Paramount Network. And that used to be, Fedor's name alone used to do $1 million.
Nobody's interested. Brian, Fedor has been beat up, and he's had nasty knockouts, like quick lights out knockouts, and you can't sell it. I mean, that's like Chuck Liddell. That fight, Chuck Liddell's been knocked out now so many times. That's why Tito Ortiz pushed so hard to get number 3, and then as soon as he beats Chuck, Chuck doesn't need to fight anymore. Well, he absolutely wanted him to fight when he wanted to get his revenge fight. But you watch that fight, man. That's a damn joke.
Right.
So Chuck Liddell's not a draw.
No, not at all. But, Chuck I used to enjoy Chuck, but on the microphone, he always came out. He never came out sounding good. He sounded real.
No, but he.
But I mean, that was Chuck, his character.
Sure,
too,
Chuck was never a guy that could create a lot of hype for himself on the mic. That's for sure. He's not a good talker, but he never come off sounding like an idiot either. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's like he didn't hurt himself, but he didn't help himself either.
Right.
He just sounded like a Joe Blow. But since we're talking about Chuck Liddell, saw TMZ did an interview with him, and Chuck indicated to the guys he was talking to there at TMZ that he'd be interested in doing a program with WWE. What are your thoughts on that? More specifically, he named The Rock as somebody he'd like to work with.
I think he's too stiff, and I don't think he could do it. Even those that want to really do professional wrestling, coming straight from whatever professional sport they come from, can come off looking really bad, and they can hurt people. If you look at football players, a lot of times when they come over, because they got the strength to push people around, and they don't look good. And then I think it seems like they're hurting people. And then if you got someone like Ronda Rousey, she was a fan of the sport. She wanted to be there, but she just didn't have the talent to be in the she got put into WWE obviously, but she didn't have something to make me watch and go, oh wow, she's really good.
Well, I think Ronda was okay. I mean, they put her with top talent, so I mean, she obviously she's very green. And she got catapulted based solely off of her name.
Well, that's
right
the
into
problem.
them. But watching her matches, she wasn't terrible.
I know. She never did anything to make me want to tune in, and I think obviously.
Well, but that's WWE programming.
Correct, and I was going to say that even her name used to be $1 million buys easy for UFC, and UFC or WWE never was able to. I don't feel like could capitalize on bringing that cross promotion with her over. But as for Chuck Liddell, I think he would be horrible. I might be wrong. Ken Shamrock, who you brought up, I know he's back in Impact Wrestling. That's where he should have been all these years. After he got done with UFC, he should have never started trying. Yeah,
he should have never left wrestling, because Ken Shamrock actually, like you said, he transitioned well into pro wrestling. He was good at it.
Right.
And that could have been very good for him. He could have, Ken's one of them guys. He's somewhere, whether it be on a independent show or something like that, Ken's going to die in the ring, because Ken's one of these dummies that can't get away from it. He's not done legitimately fighting.
Right.
You're going to have some ruckus in the cage. Some no-name, that's just doing this kind of as an amateur thing, is going to fight Ken Shamrock and is going to knock him out. Okay, but never mind the fact he'll be 65 years old. Will be on a 17-fight losing streak. Won't matter because that 21-year-old kid that just went in there, man, and jacked him in the jaw is going to sell it like it was Ken Shamrock of his prime.
Right. And that's one thing that I do miss. I wish, and I always wonder, because I've never heard anything, like, why didn't Shamrock get a good push in WWE? I never heard anything about him being mean in the back or couldn't get along with people. He was good in the ring. He was believable. But he never really got, like, I know he got up to Intercontinental belt. I remember that. But that was about it. You would have figured he would have got pushed to that next level.
Could have had something to do, too. I mean, at the time when he come through, you still had Stone Cold there, HBK. There were a lot of guys that were better than he was that had more charisma and stuff like that. The other thing, too, man, is Ken translated well into that. But let's be honest here, man. You put the mic in front of him, and it wasn't like Kim was. Name a Ken Shamrock interview. You can't. You know what I'm saying? So he translated well, but he may not necessarily have been that guy that that he wasn't the total package.
Right. But I'd be shocked. I see Tito's down in.
Put him with a manager. That's one thing. Yeah.
Or Chuck.
No, definitely put Chuck with a manager. Let somebody else do the talking for him. But that being said, though, too, man, I feel like on some level a manager. And I say this I say this with an asterisk beside it because I know that the Road Warriors had Paul Ellering for years, and he stayed their manager, good and bad. Typically, most of your managers are effective for your heels because you want to put somebody that can talk, that can get people riled up. Brock Lesnar, the genius about what they're doing with him is the fact that they have him with Paul Heyman, who's probably one of the greatest people on the mics ever. Okay? And you've got the raw talent of Brock Lesnar and the legitimacy of Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman mic skills. And that's why that's $1 million duo right there.
Right. That's
what they should do for Chuck Liddell if they brought Chuck in as a heel, which that's not going to happen.
Right. Well, Tito Ortiz went down last week, the week before. He was in the Performance Center down in Florida training. And listening to Dave Meltzer talk, I believe he was saying that he hasn't never seen anyone come in because Tito will be 40-some years old, 44 or 45, trying to start wrestling. I know he did his little shot there in Impact Wrestling and stuff, but still, that's going to be hard on the body. And I don't even know if he was just there.
I wouldn't see Tito coming on board and saying, "Hey, it's going to be like anything else." I mean, Tito Ortiz is a name, and there could be something leading into WrestleMania. Hell, who knows, Brian? They could be trying to do this like they did Brock Lesnar and Cain Velasquez, and have him and Chuck Liddell wrestle. Go for the fourth. Who knows?
Right. So it's that's very interesting. But
because let's be honest, after Brock beat Kane, you haven't heard or seen of Kane anymore.
Well, Kane was already hurt. From my understanding, he came in hurt, and then he had those matches, and then he had to go get healed up, or it was something with his knee. I mean, you talk about a guy who could be something in UFC. He was something. He could have been something, but he was injury plagued.
Oh, agreed.
And I wonder at what point he started becoming injury plagued. Because
I don't
know. Was it something early in his wrestling career, or had he always been injury plagued? Because I mean, he was phenomenal when he was there.
Yeah.
But that's why you can't sit there and go, "Oh, he's best," or you can't even call him pound for pound best ever or anything, because he wasn't there long enough. And then when he got beat up by Verdum, my God.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, and so I guess while we're still in wrestling talk, Cody Rhodes debuted his new neck tattoo.
Yes.
And it seems like it's getting a lot of mixed reaction from the fans and wrestlers.
Well, it looks like trash.
Yeah.
It really does. It doesn't look good. I'm not a fan of neck tattoos anyways. I think it looks trashy. And obviously that's his decision, but it's not a good look.
No,
it's not a good look at all.
I haven't heard anyone say that they think it looks good or that it was a good idea to get. And then if you saw Matt Hardy was in the Young Bucks being the Elite video, there's been a lot of talk now that he's out.
He's entered free agency.
Yeah.
And I did watch the video that he released, and he talked. He did say that he's he let his contract with WWE expire, that he's now a free agent. But he had nothing but good things to say about the way the WWE's treated him, his family, the career that they've provided him and stuff like that. So he definitely did not burn any bridges with WWE as far as in that aspect. But and again, and the reality is, we're in a business world here, and it could be one of those things where maybe he's not getting used with WWE. And there is something that his talents could provide to AEW right now, put him back in more of a mainstream, on TV more, and be more lucrative for him right now. Just as far as career path, it might just be the better fit for him.
Well, I was always surprised. Well, it didn't surprise me. That's a lie. But he had that broken universe that he had started. Fans were really into it because when he was over in TNA, the fans were hollering delete at WWE events. I mean, that's how much it transcended. And of course, when he went back, him and Jeff went back to WWE, they just let it go, and then he became woken Matt Hardy, and it just never had the same vibe because Vince didn't get the concept. And sometimes I'm really surprised he don't just go, all right, just let it go. Just push it for what it's worth, and he don't get it. That's fine. But no, I think he's going to be fine in AEW. But I thought it was kind of interesting when he showed up on being the Elite.
Did you see the picture where?
Or they showed up in his video, I guess.
Yeah. Did you see the picture of what's his name? Was it
MJF?
MJF was flipping off that kid.
No, I heard about it. 7-year-old kid, MJF. He's a terrific heel. He's made people want to hate him, And even when he does autograph sessions.
Yeah, but that's a true heel.
Yeah, it is. But when he does the autograph sessions, he's look at that. He's shooting the kid the finger.
Yeah.
I've seen other ones where he'll just sign the papers and then pretty much throw it at the person. Get on out of here. So that's kind of interesting seeing.
It is. The life of a pro wrestler is an interesting one because, on some level, the fans are going to want to approach even the heels and have interaction with them. But a truly good heel, somebody that's going to get people to hate them, and of course there's that fine line because you don't want to get that X-Pac type of heat where it's legitimate. Like people, they're not just booing the character; they don't like you. You see what I'm saying? You don't want that kind of heat, but let's be honest here. We live in a day and age now, man, where the heels, everybody knows what's staged, this, that, and the other. But you can't sell the fantasy if you don't do stuff like what he's doing. He's a bad guy. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain level of expectation for him to go out there and interact with the fan base, I guess. But then how can you go out there and be all Mr. Accommodating and all, you guys are the best and y'all why I do this, and then that same night be up in the ring going, you guys suck, and expect them to boo you? It doesn't work that way.
You're right, but the problem is he'll do that. Zicky Dice does his stuff where he marches around as that character. But then what happens is everybody else, all these other bad guys, are getting on the microphone thanking everyone and taking pictures. So now it makes you come off looking really bad. I don't know if that helps or hurts, like especially. Well, MJF's gonna come off being, he's real mean to everybody. Zicky Dice is going to come off being an idiot because he's marching around in his pink fanny pack and all.
Now, speaking of him, what do you think about him getting an NWA TV title?
Love it. Zicky Dice is, like I said, I think he's. It's going to be good. I think it gets that character over, and I like it. I think they're doing a good job with the TV title. I like the Lucky 7.
Yeah.
You defend the 7, you get a title shot. I don't remember them doing that in the NWA. Back in the 80s.
Right.
And so I like that. I can't complain. I think he's a good champion. But I tell you, I don't want to see too many goofy champions either, because you got Aaron Stevens, who's terrific with the question mark, and he's being comedy relief with the belt. And now you got Zicky Dice, who's outlandish, and so that you don't want. I don't know if you want to mix too much. You want to maybe sometimes have a serious or somewhat serious champion, obviously.
Well, and Zicky Dice could just be a flash in the pan champion. You know what I'm saying? Because prior to him facing off with old Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks has already beat him once before. He was part of the Lucky 7. And of course, then Ricky Starks come up short. But I don't know. Zicky Dice is okay. I don't enjoy him like you do. I think his tattoos look trashy.
Oh, they look trashy, yes.
I don't know.
He reminds me of Guy Fieri, and it's probably just because he's got blonde hair and dark black hair or black beard,
Yeah, probably. But I don't know. He's okay, I guess. But talking about old school, there, did you see Jake Roberts in the ring with Cody Rhodes? And man, let me tell you. One thing that Jake Roberts is he is a master on the microphone, and he did a really good promo in there with Cody. Took a shot at Double A, which I thought was fantastic. It was really good. I mean, the guy's he still got it on the mic. He looked great, and the crowd actually popped when he talked about getting clean and sober and getting himself healthy. The crowd actually popped and cheered him for that. And, of course, I don't know if that was just a
cheap heat.
Maybe. But then some of these people may actually know him and know some of the struggles he's had. Have seen his story with DDP Yoga and how that helped him a lot. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, because there's a, Jake Roberts has been the subject of a lot of documentary, if you will, with Beyond the Mat and then other things like that. And so it's kind of well documented that it's kind of well documented with the demons that he's fought through the years. And so I think people genuinely want to see guys that they've kind of admired. I think you do want to see him succeed and get himself back right.
Right. No, I think it's great to bring in the old timers like that who know how to get people over. I guess there's talk of Luke Harper coming in, and he might be a mouthpiece. That's just the rumor. I've seen, Lance Archer, they announced, if you remember him from Impact Wrestling TNA, Lance Hoyt. He was big over in Japan. They signed him, so he might be coming in. So you never know who's this guy that Jake Roberts is talking about. But that's who you need. You need to put people that can't speak with people that, that utilize Roberts for what he's worth.
Right. Well, and Roberts kept referring to this individual as his client.
Right.
So he's going to be aligned with whoever this is coming in, and that's great because I'm telling you, man, Jake is really good on the mic, and he still got it, as far as that's concerned. Now, I'm not gonna. I definitely am not interested in seeing Jake Roberts even begin to try to.
He'll throw a DDT or something.
He'll probably,
or he'll get punched and he'll fall down.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not interested in seeing him try to do anything physical, as far as that's concerned.
No, let's hope not.
Just out of curiosity, did you see? And I know I'm kind of going all over the place here, but did you see Goldberg try to jackhammer the Fiend?
I did not.
Was
it scary?
I don't pull it up.
All right.
From what I've heard, it's more of a suplex than it is anything. And I'm gonna tell you something right now too. I know Goldberg, Roman Reigns just came out and confronted him, and now those two are going to be set to. Those two are going to be set to face off at WrestleMania, and I have zero interest in seeing that. Let's take a look here. But yeah, I have zero interest in seeing Roman Reigns take on Bill Goldberg.
Well, it'll be another quick match.
Oh, that was awful.
Yeah, that was just more or less a suplex. And I know people aren't really into that either.
What do you mean they're not really into that?
Because they didn't want the Fiend to lose. So there's a lot of fans that are having a lot of backlash.
Right.
So if the idea was to put him against Roman Reigns against Bill Goldberg, Roman Reigns theoretically should get cheered. So, because if people hate it that bad,
They should, but there again, that's WWE coming in wanting to force Roman Reigns down your throat, and they knew that if they left the belt on the Fiend, who's over with the crowd,
right,
nobody's going to cheer Roman Reigns. So yeah, they brought Bill Goldberg in, had him do the unpopular thing, and now Roman can get over because he's beating the guy that.
Well, you might not want it to turn the Fiend good either. So even so, you want to. There might have been something there because you still want him to get booed, I guess.
I guess, man.
But I ain't look. The day of WWE bringing in all these talents and winning, having one match, they're having these real light schedules, they're winning. It's getting old. And now when you got these old guys that have been...
Well, now, and listen, I'm going to say this. Bill Goldberg's probably still strong as an ox. But that's not the same Bill Goldberg that was putting the Giant up into the damn jackhammer, okay? He can't do it no more. I mean, he barely got Bray Wyatt up. And the match with Undertaker was atrocious.
Right. Now, with that, it comes with...
you got two guys.
Concussion. You both old. See, I'm glad to see AJ taking on the Undertaker. I honestly believe AJ's going to be like Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair. He will make Undertaker look great.
That will be a phenomenal match. Not trying to, no pun intended there. But that will be a phenomenal match because you've got somebody like the Undertaker whose gimmick is, Undertaker's style has always been very limited, which is good because it has translated well into his later career, okay? But his gimmick, his aura, all this stuff, and then you're going to have AJ Styles selling for him.
Right.
Okay? And that's going to be great because like you said, AJ Styles is like Shawn Michaels, is like Ric Flair. He's going to make The Undertaker look great.
Mm-hmm. And
it's going to be a good match.
Right. So, WrestleMania season's upon us, and once again, it's there. You know what hurts me is with WrestleMania? Is some of it is like, all right, I want to see this match and that match. But being 7-8 hours, I don't have the time. I've got other things to do. I can do better things. And Wrestle Kingdom this past year did, that's New Japan's big show. They actually broke theirs up into 2 days. And I had read that one of the executives had made a comment that maybe they should break their WrestleMania up into 2 days too. And I think you could possibly make an argument, like instead of doing like an NXT tonight and then WrestleMania the next night, if you do WrestleMania at the same, I guess you could do it at the same thing. I don't know if you would, but I don't know if you'd have to. Would you want to? I don't know how. But then you're going to lower the attendance because people are going to look at who's on this card and who's on this card.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, we can sit here and say, "Oh, they need to do this, they need to do that." WWE is going to continue to do as many hours worth of wrestling because as long as you got people attending, and you know, as long as they're hitting a certain amount, it's not going to matter.
Right.
So.
But they're also looking at doing putting the Big Four back on the regular pay-per-view or ESPN Plus or some other way.
Taking it off the network.
They're taking it off the network, so that's to be explored. So, and that was, I know I was listening to Jim Cornette the other day, and he was saying that maybe was it Jim Cornette? Or someone was talking, and they said when they initially went with the streaming service, everyone was saying, keep the Big Four elsewhere, take the other little pay-per-views and put it on the network. Because they can make, a lot of money when they sell WrestleMania. Now they're not, now it's $10.
I'll be honest with you. If they move the Big Four back to the pay-per-view, I don't watch WWE pay-per-views anyways. The only one that I normally would make any effort whatsoever at all, and the last time I watched WrestleMania, I didn't finish WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar was the Kurt jerker, and that was just for him to lose the title, and so pretty much I was done with WrestleMania right out the gate, and if that happens, I don't see me watching any more WWE programming.
Well, I mean, I was not saying I wouldn't watch it, but they're going to have to be.
I'm not going to pay $50-$60 for a wrestling pay-per-view.
Well, no, I'm just saying that if I did, it's going to have to be something special.
And that's funny that I say that because I can remember we used to be the guys that were buying WCW, WWE, ECW. Man, we were buying 3 pay-per-views a month.
Yeah.
And now I can't think of a scenario other than NWA. And I'll be honest with you, as much as I enjoy NWA, if NWA got sideways and decided they want to charge me $60 for a pay-per-view, they can kick sand, pal. The days of me paying that kind of money for a wrestling pay-per-view are gone.
Well, it has to be special. I don't mind paying the money, but it's going to have to be something good. It's like UFC. It used to be I would pay anything for UFC. Well, not anything, but I did not blink.
No.
But now it is.
But we are very selective now with what we buy.
Right. I sit down. I go, okay, I want to see Conor take on Cowboy. That's the only fight on that card that I really want to watch, and I'll pay for it. All right. But you never sit down and go, all right, we're just going to get it.
No, they
NWA's got it right. I think
they're at a good price point where I don't mind dropping $20.
I think $20, and I think you could probably do $35-$40 at the highest. At the highest, me personally. But I mean, I would not start climbing over that because once you climb over, especially 40, I'm going to start thinking, all right, what can I do with this money?
Right.
Because I'm not just going to give it to an 8-hour WWE.
No.
Now I will say WWE Network's going to tank if all 4 of them leave. What are you buying? What are you buying the network for? It was NXT and all the pay-per-views. Well, now
NXT is on regular TV.
It's on USA, and so it's going to be like Fight Pass. It'll be like you go there, you can watch old matches. I know WWE has always flirted with like bringing Ring of Honor, putting it on there, and MLW and NWA and all these different shows, but that they won't pull the trigger because unlike UFC that goes, okay, you can put your show on our platform, and WWE still want, and they can do whatever they want. WWE's going to say, no, we got to be hands on.
I think, and let me say this: I think if say NWA decided to start providing original content for WWE Network, that'd be the worst mistake NWA ever made. And the reason I say that is because they can say, "Oh no, we're separate and independent." Nobody believes it.
Right.
Nobody believes it. And at the end of the day, Ohio Valley Wrestling's getting a TV deal, but that's another WWE product.
Well, no, who are they getting their TV deal at? Because I'd say this, they're no longer affiliated with WWE. They might have some. They might. I mean, Al Snow knows people up there, but it's not like they used to be the training hub like Florida Championship Wrestling or now NXT. So no, but if NWA went there, Ring of Honor's already been cherry picked. I mean, they got cherry picked hard this last time. It's been a long time. It's kind of hurt them pretty bad, and hopefully Villain Enterprises and NWA and all that stuff just working together.
I will say this: I think Marty Scurll, with the contract he got that gave him the flexibility to work with the different promotions, he'd be crazy. I mean, well, WWE has deep enough pockets; they could offer him a contract financially that would let him come in there, man, and pretty much sit on the sidelines. And I think, unfortunately, he's a very talented guy, and he could go in, man, and be like Daniel Bryan or AJ Styles. He could go in, man, and possibly make good. I think Marty Scurll's definitely got the talent to do that, but I think he's got a really good thing going with being able to work with NWA, Ring of Honor, and didn't his contract give him the ability to work with AEW?
No, I don't believe so.
What about New Japan?
No, Ring of Honor and New Japan work together, so he would still go over New Japan.
So there's three promotions right there that he can, and that's not counting any other little side promotions that he may be able to.
Right.
But he's got options to keep his name out there in front of a lot of different people. Because I refuse to believe too that we're the only ones that are not WWE people. Not. If WWE was so over in the wrestling business and this, that, and the other, their numbers would reflect that. But they're not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I also believe that what we're seeing is you're seeing wrestling is some of the damage that was done back in the 90s to pro wrestling. It's taken it a while to start to, but you and I have talked before. I was under the belief, and I feel like we're seeing it on some level, but I feel like you're seeing the return of the territories. It'll never be the territories like what you saw back in the 70s and 80s, and 60s, 70s, 80s. It's not going to be territories like that. But when you look at the landscape of pro wrestling right now, and you look at the different promotions that are out here that are doing good for themselves, you know what I'm saying? And with the rise of social media, you're able to get your product out there, and kind of almost like what PWI used to do back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know who Flying Brian Pillman, Brian Pillman Jr. is.
Right.
We've never seen him wrestle as far as, at a live show or on
but
a program.
it's easy down to go to.
But I've watched him with his promotion,
right.
because of I follow him on social media. So if Brian Pillman Jr. showed up at NWA tomorrow, I know who he is.
Right. Or even if he showed up AEW or WWE.
Or the Von Erichs.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
If they showed up, okay? And that's nice, it's nice to see that. But, we can sit here right now and list off, at least 5 different wrestling companies outside of WWE that are doing well for themselves and that are offering really good programming, and I think that's good, but it's taken a while to get here.
That's one thing that I would like to see these smaller promotions start picking up. Like, do what Vince say. Instead of spending the money, spend it on building the brand. That way, all these wrestlers have honest to God, true spots to go to. That's not going to be like, are we going to fold tomorrow? And I think that's sometimes what is the bad thing. But you're right. There's several big good promotions. If it's House of Hardcore, you got
Major League Wrestling,
MLW, NWA. Them are 3 right off. Or PWG. Them are 4. And then Ring of Honor, so 5. So
Chikara Pro.
Right. So you've got some spots. You just need to start. That's why they need to think of themselves as a territory, and they don't leave this area. That's the one thing that I would think would be more beneficial to them. But I was thinking about the ratings because of WWE or NXT and AEW pretty much just transfer 100,000 people back and forth each week. 50,000 here. There's real no growth in the business. And I started thinking about it, and I wonder if it's more of a... it used to be we only could watch pro wrestling Monday, Sunday, and Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Because them are the only 3 times. Anytime after that, it's magazines, and that's it. And if they came to wrestle, but hell, that was always on a weeknight or a weekend. I don't remember them coming on many weeknights to the area.
Well, not until you got into the 90s with the Monday Night Wars and stuff. So,
but you had very few options, so in turn you would get big numbers. But now, like we just talked about MLW, I've watched MLW on YouTube. NWA's YouTube based. You have so many options. It's just like we were talking about earlier with UFC. You've got Bellator, line fights, or you have all of these different things. I don't have to I can get up 2:00 in the morning and watch pro wrestling or MMA or boxing, and it's live. Or a lot of times it's live, or it might have been just taped a few hours ago. I think that's the big thing that they've got to figure. I don't even know how you figure it out because it's just so mass. It's almost like having music, and you throw here's new music, you throw it onto the internet, it goes into the ether. It's like how do you wrangle it in? I don't know.
So one thing that I'm going to say is this: I like the fact that NWA is a smaller promotion. I like some of these that are. Ring of Honor, I know Ring of Honor's kind of, through the years they've grown to the point of, they're kind of like a big little company. I feel like that as long as a pro wrestling company stays at a certain size, and the people that are running the company are true fans or care about the sport, at the end of the day, what sets WWE apart from all of its competition. More specifically, what separated them from WCW and why WWE survived is because Vince McMahon owned the company because he cared about the sport. He cared about wrestling, and he did what was right for it. Now, we could sit here and go off onto a tangent about the damage he has done, because for everything good Vince McMahon has done for the sport of wrestling, there's equally as much bad. Vince McMahon's the one that started this whole, let me go out of my way to tell you how fake we are.
Right.
Okay? But be it here or there, when WCW reached a point where it was owned, and like you said earlier, the suits got involved, you had people that knew nothing about the product, knew nothing about the history of the product. They knew nothing. And it was very apparent, and it was manufactured. It was horrible.
Right.
It was absolutely horrible. It always blew my mind that, Thursday Night Thunder was such a throwaway show. Why are you producing a show that sucks as bad as this sucks? You know what I'm saying? Especially in the wrestling boom. But I would like to see wrestling companies stay at a certain level. I don't want to see them get to be the major conglomerates, because at some point AEW is going to get bad. AEW is doing really good right now, but that'll change. They're a brand new company. They're untested as far as hitting hard times. Right now everybody and their brother wants to jump to them because of the new hotness. But that will change. At some point, something's going to go south, and somebody's going to get in their feelings about something, and it's going to change. I mean, WWE's had its peaks and valleys through the years. You remember right after Brett got screwed in Montreal, Owen took a dive off the top of the arena. Vince was hurting. He was hurting as far as the morale of his wrestlers were down, especially after Brett got screwed. That really hurt, but he worked through it.
True. And I do think the bigger you get, the more someone's going to come along and, let's add this to our repertoire, and then they don't know what the hell they're doing with it, and then they'll just destroy the business. And, sometimes it's just easy. I mean, wrestling business isn't that hard. That's what sometimes bothers me. But they try to make it harder than what it seems like. It's almost like movies or whatever. It's like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can just tell a story with MJF and Cody, which are doing an old school style thing.
That's right.
Just mimic an old one and then try to add a little freshness to it. And even if you didn't add freshness to it, people don't remember it a lot of times.
So much time transpires in the wrestling business and angles and different things of this nature. I appreciate these promotions are getting back to letting these guys go out there and be themselves. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. I understand why WWE got to where they were so scripted. Still are. Because you had guys like Chris Benoit that even with him trying to regurgitate a script, couldn't sell it. I mean, he was awful. Mm-hmm. And you'd have guys get sidetracked and this, that, and the other. But the WWE has never manufactured an interview that carried the same weight as when you had Stone Cold Steve Austin talking 316 or Ric Flair talking about to be the man, you got to beat the man. You just didn't have that.
Look at NWA. Eli Drake has a shirt that says "Shoes of a Champion," and it's a bottle of champagne in his jacket. Because when he came out there on that one episode, and he's talking about the shoes of a champion, and he backed up and said, "Look at this. What was it? Look at this jacket. It's shoes of a champion." And then he goes, then he knew he had messed up. That was a mistake that's now a T-shirt.
But that's because he owned it.
Yes.
Because Eli Drake's really good on the mic. He gets that crowd fired up.
How he didn't go to WWE is surprising to me.
What, man?
Now, I don't know if he's been there and look at EC3. EC3 was a guy that went to Impact. He was in NXT as Derek Bateman. They didn't use him, so he went to TNA Impact. Got over, so WWE said, "We got to bring you back." They bring him back to job him out, and now they've got him signed to a contract, and his contract is coming up, and they're not going to probably renew it. Well, he's not going to sign it because he trademarked EC3 because WWE went to trademark it, and he had already trademarked it. So I don't care where he goes; he's a talent.
And that's why it's good for the business for there to be competition.
I tell you, I like the AEW model. I like the NWA model or ring. The smaller, throw away WWE. The model where the wrestler can come in. There's a very few that are actually full-time employees. They are truly more of an independent contractor.
But that's the way it used to be back in the day.
And that's how it should be. If you're called an independent contractor, you should be able, like Tony Khan, which I know we're pushing up against the hour, but at the Revolution, AEW Revolution, I like the media scrums at the end. And like one point he told someone, he's like, "Look, I don't care what a lot of these guys go and do." He's like, "But on these certain dates, we want them to be ready and not to be ready to go, and not so they don't go out there and get hurt, and then they're stuck in, some spot of Wisconsin because of the snow or whatever it might cause." So,
well, I definitely think, you look back in the day, man, and wrestlers came in and they may say, "Hey, man, why don't you come up here and do a six-month run with us?"
Right.
And during that 6 months, they work a program with whoever, and then they can go off. It keeps these guys fresh. It keeps us as the fans entertained because nobody gets stale to us. You're going to need just some consistency. You know what I'm saying? You're going to need your Nick Aldis somebody that's going to be there to create some continuity. That's going to be a long term. You do, but again, Marty Skrull's showing up, which is leading us into the Crockett Cup coming up. But him showing up, man, there on NWA programming, and now that Villain Enterprises is invaded and the
right.
all that, I mean, that's exciting stuff, and that's creating some good storylines.
And that's exciting. When I saw Brody King come down the steps to help Marty out last week.
Yes.
He was like, all right, here we go. Now I'm thinking, like, well, where's PCO?
Right.
So
speaking of which, you see PCO lost the strap back to Roosh.
I don't have no issue with that. I like Roosh.
I like Roosh too. But yeah, Roosh got it back.
Yeah.
And apparently the little faction that Roosh is with now has got all the belts. So.
I think that's a good move.
That's a good look on them, yeah.
Ring of Honor
knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm happy for them. I hope they start turning the corner because, I mean, like I said, when Young Bucks, Cody, and a lot of them, SCU, a lot of them folks left, it really took a lot of wind out of their sails. But, hey, they keep on trucking.
They got a lot of talent there.
And
I believe in Joe Hendry.
Yeah, I do too. So let's end it on that number. So you good?
I'm good.
All right. So until next time, I'm Brian.
I'm Iron Dutch Murdoch.
And we will see you next week. Thanks for listening to Potato Shop Podcast. You can listen to us on Podbean, SoundCloud, and all other places you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at Potato Shop PC, YouTube at Potato Shop. Make sure you click the subscribe button and notification bell so you'll know when we post anything new. So until next time, later.